Hi, my name is Kieran Wood. Hopefully you can all hear me okay. I'm going to do a presentation today. How a dyslexic like me can obtain a Microsoft Solution Expert status in data management and analytics, and how you can too. Thanks again to Jan for allowing me to do this presentation today. So yeah, I'm keen to give presentations, including Q&A in any of the data analytics-based event or user group on this subject, since I genuinely believe I can and will transform lives by empowering others to achieve the certification or indeed study for any exam. So about me. I understood that I was one of the first people in the world to obtain this new certification, since I passed all the exams required for this award during November 2017. Passing exams is not easy for me since I have a formal mild dyslexia diagnosis. I'm also married with young children. My day job consists of holding down a series of stressful contracts, so in summary, I'm very time poor as well as dyslexic. So let's go over the structure. Why is So it'll split into the following sections. Why is the Microsoft certification important? And chat about you, overview of the certification, how I achieved the certification in order of importance, a day in my life, so how I've actually revised in practice for all this stuff. Talk about weekends, managing interruptions, switching off and relaxing. When am I ready to sit the exam? Let's chat about that as well. And also really important about the exam day, before, during and after. You're going to be sat in the same spot tapping away at a computer for over 2 hours. So a strategy is needed for that. There's lots of further links, so please be patient. You have the links at the end, and I'm going to allow 10 minutes for questions and answers as well. So I'm going to try and put all this content on my blog at some point in the future, so you'll have all the links there. So let's start. Why is certification so important? Well, it's a tragedy that many consultants move from role to role where they are mainly rewriting other people's designs. This is often caused by the original designers not having the prerequisite skills. As data analytics professionals, we are in a unique position to make the world a better place. Many of the world's problems will be solved, at least in part, by good data analytics. Microsoft certification is therefore a good tool in reducing the probability of us revisiting the starting block and increasing the possibility of us making a real difference. So about you, you probably want to gain certification. However, you are daunted about how high the bar is set for this certification. A very small percentage of people who do data analytics specialize in Power BI. A very small percentage of people have actually got the certification. So I want to try and improve on that. So to achieve the certification, you're concerned about the fact that you simply don't have enough time to prepare. You're probably in a similar boat to me. So let's go have an overview. So Microsoft Certified Solutions Expert status. To achieve that, you first need to be a Microsoft Certified Solutions Associate. To become a Microsoft Certified Solution Associate for BI reporting, you need to pass 2 exams. These are analyzing and visualizing data with Microsoft Power BI, analyzing and visualizing data with Microsoft Excel. Those 2 exams, they're actually quite similar. So if you pass one, you've got a good chance of passing the other. And when you've passed both these 2 exams here, one with Power BI, the other with Excel, then you achieve the Microsoft Certified Solutions Associate status. Once you achieve that, then you can upgrade your skill set even further to have what I would call a more enterprise version of your skill set, your certification level, and you're able to scale out your Power BI solutions to analysis services tabular model, which is effectively an enterprise version of Power BI along with Power BI Premium. Okay, so one of the things that you need to do is you need to just have a look at this structure. Just think about your day job, have a look at this structure and think to yourself, what of this content have I already covered? Well, let's just bring up that link. So you've got your 2 exams here. You click on there, and then you go into the exam details, and then you can see the structure. Scroll down, and you see this is all the criteria that you need to pass. So if you're lucky enough to be doing this stuff in your day job, then you can just basically say, right, well, what don't I do as part of my day job? And then base your self-study around that. And the similar thing with the Power BI within Excel. You've got your structure here. Okay, there's a bit of a gotcha here. I've just noticed is that this document here, please don't forget to download that, because that document is actually quite different to this here. It actually says there's other content such as Power BI Premium. Sorry, not Power BI Premium. Power BI Gateway mentioned in here, which is actually not mentioned in the actual website page. So that's quite important that you read through this when you're identifying your revision strategy. Access on premise data. That's what you do with Power BI Gateway. Okay, let's scoot back to the main structure again. We're doing quite well for time. That's good. So how I achieve the certification in order of importance: don't compare yourself to others, get work experience which covers as much of the exam structure as possible, self-study, help others, learning media, digesting information when you have small pockets of time, buddy up, rediscover your learning style, and boot camps. So the most important thing is at the top, the least important thing is at the bottom. So it all boils down to time management and self-motivation. You cannot create time, you can only make better use of your existing time, which is what most of this presentation is about. A huge barrier to self-motivation is comparing yourself to others. So get work experience which covers as much of the exam structure as possible. You cannot pass with self-study alone. I've tried, I've failed, and many other people have too. You may even need to accept work at a reduced rate of pay to get relevant work experience. Again, that's a big ask, but necessary and in the long run, very beneficial if you can make that step, if that's what you need to do. Fight very hard at work to avoid a situation where you're taking work home with you. Otherwise, you're just burning the candle from both ends. A quicker certification is to achieve the EDX analyzing and visualizing data with the Power BI course. That's purely online, but there's no exam, there's just a few online tests. Okay, so self-study is no substitute for relevant work experience, as I've already said. However, the reality is you won't find a job which covers all the exam content. So self-study is essential to cover the exam structure, not covered by your work experience. So I'm a big fan of Safari because I like trees. And I'm I haven't got the muscles of Arnold Schwarzenegger, so I just buy a very few books, and then I've got the rest of the books available to me online. A resources link there. For mock exams, prepaway.com. They've got mock exams for the both for the Power BI exam and the analysis services exam as well. Yeah, and also subscribe to the blogs to find out what's new, because you'll be tested on relatively recent stuff in your exam. So yeah, help others. So if you get into regularly asking questions at forums, well, these answers that you provide, they may answer questions you might get in your exam. Look for people to mentor in your workplace. Be an evangelist for Power BI in your workplace. Blog on your experience. Invite constructive feedback. So learning media, memory cards, mind maps, these are all tech things, but if you write things down, there's something about psychology, if you write things down with pen and paper, you tend to take it in more than if you're just using a computer, a keyboard and a screen. Generate voice to MP3, so you can have it on your MP3 player or your iPod. Use a smartphone, maybe have PDFs of cheat sheets on your smartphone, so you can read these on a train or on a tube when you're in a waiting room. MP4 have videos. There's some really good videos on how to approach these questions. I'll give you those in the links at the end. Kindle, I'll go into more detail later about Kindle's very helpful, Kindle documents, and Epub. So reading books on the train without having a physical book or having any internet access. So Epub is excellent for that. You get lots of Epub tokens free with Safari, as I mentioned earlier. Recommended Safari. Digesting information when you have small pockets of time or you are tired. So traveling to work, revise when you're traveling to work, waiting time, doctors, queues, dentists. I forgot the number, but most people spend a large proportion of their life doing this stuff. If you can be doing that stuff and revising, then that's awesome. Relax in your bath whilst memory cards of potential exam answers are read out to you from a battery-powered speaker. That just enables things to soak deep in your memory whilst you're relaxing. It's just a really good way of getting that stuff lodged in your brain for when you sit the exam. Buddy up. Advertise for a friend at work, Facebook, college, or LinkedIn, where you can, colleague, or where you can study together. You may find that a successful student partnership will turn into a successful business partnership later. Again, talking from experience there. Rediscover your learning style. If you're like me, you've had a big gap between school, uni, and attempting your first Microsoft exam. Okay, so the chances are it's a while since you were at school. The tools available to self-study are now hugely beneficial. Use tech when you need tech, make best use of it, but don't let it run your life. And I'll go into that in a bit more detail later. When managing expectation in terms of how long it will take you to be ready to sit an exam, be mindful that learning or relearning how to learn is a project in itself. So build that into your expectations of when you attempt a Microsoft exam and pass it. But once you've passed your first Microsoft exam, passing further Microsoft exams, your second, your third, your fourth, it gets progressively easier once you've passed your first Microsoft exam. Boot camps. Boot camps are great when you need to hit the ground running for new technology. The boot camp is funded by your employer. It typically costs about several £1,000s, about €6,000 to attend a 1-week boot camp. You stop in a hotel, it's intense, and it's not guaranteed that you're going to pass at the end of it. So if your employer pays for it, great. It could get you over the threshold. Certainly going to give you a good grounding for doing Power BI in your workplace. That's great. However, I wouldn't pay for a boot camp out of your own wallet. Okay, remember, studying for certification will sharpen your skills even if you never pass any certification exam. You've got nothing to lose by studying for the certification. You can only gain, especially if you're already using Power BI in the workplace. Once you gain a certification, it is much easier to maintain it. Just make sure you continue to learn the latest versions. Exam questions are generally biased towards the latest features. Just be mindful about the fact that Power BI Desktop comes out every month. So it's unlikely, I feel, that Microsoft are going to be able to update their exam scripts every month. But if you aim to, say, at least revise the previous 2 months, the most recent Power BI released as of 2 months ago, then you should be okay. So let's put this advice all together. So this is how it's worked in practice for me. So a day in my life: wake up, breakfast and quiet time, attempt mock questions. So identify my weakest areas based on the exam questions that I previously answered incorrectly. The research into correct answers for the questions. Research wider than just simply answering that question directly. Just think, this is an area that I'm weak in, not just the answer to that particular question. For example, if I answer the question incorrectly on Power BI Gateway, then I'll probably read a whole chapter in a book about Power BI Gateway or look at the relevant content online. So this is a biggie. This has really helped me, this. So enter correct answers into a Word document. Email this document to the email address of your Kindle device, which will be something like, for me, it's something like wood.kieran@freemail.kindle.com, from the email address you registered for your Kindle with. You will then be able to read these answers or listen to these answers on your Kindle whilst traveling. Okay, so cycle to work. Yep, it's important to push your body hard, but you need to push your brain hard. I generally find I can only keep fit and maintain a healthy weight when my exercise becomes part of my daily routine. Train journey to work. Based on the weakest areas identified by your mock exam, read a relevant chapter in a book, including working through the relevant practicals. Epub is very useful at that point because your internet access is typically flaky on a train. So then I run from the train to the tube, and during the tube journey, I listen to browse answers to mock exam questions on my Kindle, which is like a Word document. Again, no need for the internet. Then I work in the morning, and so I've got a dentist appointment in the afternoon. Instead of worrying about a drill inside my mouth, I browse memory cards whilst waiting for my dentist appointment. I create new cards based on mock exam results. I throw away cards based on material which I understand fully established in my memory. Okay, so then work the second half of the day. Sorry, I missed that. I run from the tube to the train journey to the local station. So I do more revision on the train on the way home, and I cycle home to the local station, and then get home, chill out with the family, bedtime. So I sometimes have my exam notes speaking through earphones whilst asleep. It sounds a little sad, or very sad, but I believe it works. If it does mean that I am revising whilst I dream, actually not that sad at all. So weekends, managing interruptions, switching off and relaxing. I try to avoid revising for exams on the weekends. I try and protect weekends to spend with my family. although I am successful in this, like I'm giving this webinar right now on a Sunday. I avoid hobbies which are too similar to work. Avoid gaming. Avoid that deadly combination of having to concentrate and stare at a screen too many hours in the day. If you do that, really affects your capacity to study and work. So this is another hard ask now, which you've underlined. Take email, WhatsApp, any form of social media off your smartphone. Otherwise, you're going to be twiggling with that when you should be on the train revising. Or any other points where there'd be a nice little pocket of exam revision, but you can't do it because you've been interrupted by your smartphone. So take control of your tech stuff. Don't let your tech stuff take control over you. Core message there. How likely is it that you will get an urgent work email when you're on your way to work, which you must respond to before you arrive at work? If family and friends want to contact you urgently, they will simply ring you. Try and have a good long walk in the countryside at least once a week. So when am I ready to sit the exam? A good indicator that you're ready to sit your exam is when you get 100% in your mock exam. This does not guarantee that you will pass, since the mock exam will have a finite number of questions. The cost of taking a day's leave and the financial costs of sitting an exam often cause people to delay taking their first attempt. However, if you've never sat a Microsoft exam before, I would recommend that you sit the exam just to get the experience of sitting a Microsoft exam before you are ready to pass, where you don't have the expectation of passing. You will then be able to use this experience to make a more determined and informed attempt at passing in the future. Exam day, before, during, and after. So let's focus on before the exam first. Book the whole day off for the exam. Book the exam for a mid-morning around 11, 10:30. That might be different for you if you're a morning person or a night owl. Have a really nice slow start. Take a relaxing bath. In the background, again, make sure it's battery powered. This MP3 player speaking to you answers to questions in your weakest areas. If you sit the exam at home, make sure your study area is completely clear. I mean completely clear. Microsoft is very OCD about this. So what they will do, they will get you to point your camera all around the room to make sure that there's no answers, no way of cheating. Can't blame them really. You have to be sat at your computer continuously for 2+ hours. Have a meal which is a mixture of slow and quick release energy. For example, a bowl of sugary porridge. Take a comfort break minutes before the exam. Drink just the right amount of water leading up to the exam. So you can't eat anything, drink anything during the 2 hour plus exam. Harsh, I know. So the actual exam, there are a lot of questions to answer. However, if you have revised all the content, you basically have plenty of time to answer the questions. So read each question slowly before answering. It's amazing how many people answer questions incorrectly because they don't read the questions properly. Some of the questions are a variant of multi-choice, so you may be able to derive the correct answer by just knowing the other available options are not correct. Do a time check each quarter of your exam time to make sure you are answering the questions at the right speed. Don't finish the exam early. I assure you, you will not get 100%. So after the exam, okay, if you pass, you win. If you fail, you win. If you pass your exam, well done. Celebrate and give yourself a little treat. After no less than a week, think about your next exam and start to study for it. Otherwise, your healthy lifelong learning pattern will begin to slip. If you fail your exam, well done for attempting. You will receive an extremely valuable transcript which will detail your weakest areas. This feedback will be the foundation for your future revision strategy to resit your exam and pass. Okay, so we're doing really well for time. So I've just got some links here which enabled me to pass the exams that I spoke about earlier. So it looks like we're going to have a fair amount of time for Q&A at the end. So I've got a list of resources on my website. Again, I intend to update that. White papers, Power BI white papers. Now take a screenshot of all these pages as I go through them, so you get all the links, because there might be a delay in me putting all these links on my blog if you need these links. So yeah, as I say, in your weakest areas, don't just think about, oh, I got this question wrong in a mock, I'll just try and answer that question and remember and understand the answer. Just think wider. So yeah, so if there's an exam related, if there's a question related to visualization, which visualization should you choose? Then by all means, read the white paper, which relates to advanced visualization. If you get a question wrong with regards to security, then read the white paper on security. So this introduction to Power BI online course, again, that is useful. It's a nice little confidence builder. It's quite cheap and easy to sit. It's video based, and you just get a few online questions. It's not really exam based. So that's a really good step towards get your first Power BI exam passed, if you've not attempted a Microsoft exam before. Okay, I've got a DAX reference, which you might find useful. I'm going to try and expand that. So the DAX reference, sorry, the text is a bit too small. Just make it a bit bigger there. Yeah, so I will try and expand this solution to a later date. So it says the Power Query equivalent commands for DAX. So I recommend you have that as a favorite. So yes, I've put the video for the course again there. So there's two excellent videos which focus more on Q&A for particular Power BI questions that you're likely to get in an exam. And both these videos are generated by Ted Patterson, so I really recommend you take a look at those videos as well. Okay, so there are there's a book, there's a recommended book for each of these exams. And there's also a blog by Catherine Wilmsen, who's also taken the analysis services exam as well. So if I can just bring up, since we're doing pretty well on time, I'm just going to bring up the books, which so you've got this exam book here, Analyzing and Visualizing Data Using Microsoft Power BI. I've used these sorts of books to help me pass a number of exams, but these books won't enable you to pass just by reading these cover to cover and doing the exercises. So that's the example of Power BI. And that's the exam Power BI within Excel. Yeah, so obviously follow the popular blogs. So this is Chris Webb's blog here, crossjoin.co.uk, Marco Russo's, Roberto Ferrari's blog, sqlbi.com. So you'll probably gather that the capital for Power BI is not in Greater Seattle, but it's in Italy. So these are other really well recognized experts: Prathi, SQL Chick, Critical Path Training. That's a website of Ted Patterson, who's done some really good YouTube videos on typical questions that you might get in the Power BI exam. Radicad, Razared, who does radicad.com, he's done some very innovative work in Power BI as well. Okay, so this is just giving the links to the two books that I showed you earlier. These books are available in Safari, so I found that some books I tend to carry around with me and I nurse. Other books I tend to just need online. So I found that I just needed to have these two books online. But the book that I generally use on a day-to-day basis is this Definitive Guide to DAX. So in terms of exam revision, if there's a book that I really need to use day in, day out, I'm not afraid of marking it with a pen, just to make sure that I highlight the most pertinent areas. There's a new edition coming out of this soon, so make sure you get that next edition on pre-order. It's out sometime in next year, 2019. Again, it's really important that you don't just cover the exam content, but try and read beyond it to give you a greater understanding, and then you're much more likely to answer correctly any question during the exam that is thrown at you if you try and read beyond the actual structure of each exam. And these books here enable you to do just that. Particularly like the Pro Power BI Desktop book by Adam Aspin, because there's a good amount of focus on Power Query. So I've focused mainly on the Power BI exam, but obviously to get from Solutions Associate to Solution Expert status, you need to pass an exam on Analysis Services, tabular model, or something similar, or something else. So let's just bring that up again on screen.
What are you getting up on the screen now?
Okay, I'm just getting the Microsoft Certified Solutions Expert status page.
Cool.
Okay, so just recapping that to get the Solutions Associate status, you need to pass sorry, my mouse is on 3 screens. It's taking me a while to find it. You need to pass the 2 Power BI exams to get MCSE BI reporting. And then once you've passed these 2 exams and you've got your Solutions Associate status, then you can then aim for Solutions Expert status. So with that, you could pass one of any of these exams, but I chose to pass the Analysis Services exam initially there, and then I'm going to renew my status by passing that exam there. But you may choose to study another exam which is more associated with Azure if that's the way your career is going and that's the work experience you're getting at the moment. So these are the two books that were very useful in me passing that third exam, which was Analysis Services, Tabular Model, and Multidimensional Model. Okay, so it's a privilege to have the opportunity to be able to serve customers using Microsoft Business Intelligence related technologies. Do we have any questions?
So far, I had one question. Let me get it. So Arun is asking, do we need to check about the Power Platform? So Power Apps and Microsoft Flow, as you know, they got thrown in together with Power BI into the Power Platform. And one of his friends said that there were some questions about those two on the exam, on the Power BI exam.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that?
Okay, so I'm not able to say directly what was on the exam when I passed it, but what I can say is that, just scooting back to what I was saying earlier, when and I only just noticed this about 3 o'clock in the morning and was frantically panicking, putting together these slides, is that when you're actually on the website and you go into view exam details, scroll down here and you look at this content, you think, oh yeah, this is a structure, this is what I want to work towards. But then you look at this here and you'll see that this is really key. And you click on this document here and you'll notice that this document is significantly different to the actual structure that we've just been looking at. And I do seem to remember that there was something to do with Power Apps on this. So it might not have been covered in a previous version of Power BI exam, but I think we need to assume that it is in this. It's got API, but not. There we go. Reports and apps. It's not explicitly saying Power Apps, though, is it?
Yeah, I suppose this is in regards to the app workspaces and the apps that you can publish out of that.
Yeah.
So looking at the documentation, it doesn't seem as if Power Apps and Flow will be in the exam.
Yeah. Yeah, so if we're going to go with that as a sort of gospel version of what's going to be in the exam, I would say it's not there yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thinking about it, it doesn't seem to make much sense to have apps and Flow in there as well, as they're basically very different technologies.
Yes.
So I guess we'll see exams in the future about these technologies separately.
Yes. Yeah, I'm expecting an exam that's going to be more based on Power BI Premium as well. Yeah.
So Arun also asks which sites are good for mock exams. I seem to remember that Microsoft has one or two official partners that they partner up with.
Yeah, I couldn't find all the exams I was looking for under MeasureUp yet. So the one that I found that was quite reasonable was Prepway.
Yeah, Prepaway is what Arun also refers to.
Yeah. So that's my favorite at the moment. In the past, it has been MeasureUp, and there was another one as well that I've used. But at the moment, Prepway seems to be the better one amongst the few that's available. I did use MeasureUp before, but as I say, I didn't seem to get the right exams at the right mock exams of the right quality from MeasureUp at this point in time. But maybe they'll catch up in the future.
Okay. Yeah, so far those are all the questions.
Okay. Oh, I just lost me.
Yeah, we see Dell Precision. Did you have other slides that you wanted to show?
Yeah, I think that's it. So if there's no more questions, then thank you very much for your time, everybody.
Yeah, thank you for presenting. It's always nice to see new content.
Okay, thanks, Jan.
Oh, have a good evening. Bye.
You too. Cheers, bye.